The Tupi-Guarani people are spread all over lowland South America, from French Guiana in the north to northern Argentina in the south, and from the Atlantic coast of Brazil to the foothill of the Peruvian Andes. There are several million speakers of Paraguayan Guarani, but most Tupi-Guarani groups are on the order of tens of thousands or a couple of thousand. They are a group of indigenous peoples who share languages and certain cultural practices. Something on the order of 1,500 to 1,000 years ago, there was this massive diaspora of Tupi-Guarani peoples all over South America. And it seems like in the course of a couple of hundred years, they went from being in a relatively circumscribed region, not that far from the mouth of the Amazon, to spreading all over lowland South America. And as a result, influenced the cultural and social development of peoples all over the continent. In our efforts to understand how the Tupi-Guarani diaspora took place, we don't actually have very many tools at our disposal. Basically what we have are linguistics and archaeology. The material culture of lowland South American peoples is principally organic material. And so basically all of that disappears. So really all you're left with is pottery. And that's not a lot to go on. In this context, linguistics ends up playing an outsized role because the linguistic data is so much richer and more detailed at present than the archaeological data. The approach we've taken is to adapt methods from evolutionary biology. We're in an especially lucky and possibly unique position by having a real evolutionary biologist who's willing to work with us.
I am from the Department of Environmental Science here at Berkeley, and I am a finishing PhD student. In my other hat, I study the evolution of spiders. We are using methods that have been developed in evolutionary biology to analyze DNA sequences or morphological features of organisms. And there are parallels between evolutionary biology and how languages evolve. And we are taking advantage of those analogies in order to apply the same method. So here we get evolutionary trees of the languages that depict the branching structure of a language family.
We compile a bunch of resources, dictionaries and word lists and grammars of these different languages. So we have a list of approximately 600 words that we're looking for, and then we're building a large comparative database. We basically use an algorithm that computes the most likely tree structure that accounts for the diversity that you see in words between languages. So some languages will have lost a word that's present in another language, and some languages will have gained a word that was not gained in another language, and then from there you build a structure of how related these languages are to one another.
In a sense, we're trying to lay the linguistic tree down over the geography, and in this way infer what the migration pattern must have been. I mean, it seems to me that what this suggests is an express down the coast, and then quite a bit later, an inland coastal push.
There's a sound change that I think we cannot ignore, and it's the Poitou. What you're seeing might actually be the result of both a coastal expansion and a move eastward to the coast.
The pottery was moving around with the language.
It turns out that there is a certain part of the tree which corresponds to a certain region of Amazonia, and that is the area which will really resolve the question of the migration. And there's been no archaeological work done there. I sort of feel that what we need to say is these are the archaeological facts that would distinguish between the scenarios. Go forth, ye archaeologists, and get some real data. Dig here, right? I mean, we can actually say that, right? Dig here, and dig there. We feel that we can say to the archaeologists, go here, and depending on what you will find, you'll basically have an answer to the question of the migration of the Tupi-Guarani peoples. Like a major question about whether or not they split in two ways or went in a big circle clockwise or counterclockwise. We feel that that would really help clarify the question. We see a potentially very fruitful interaction between archaeology and linguistics. We can, in principle, use the archaeology to calibrate the tree, which means that then we can actually put dates onto when specific splits took place. Each side thinks that the other side has a lot to offer.
It's an insight into these people's and these languages' history. And we don't have many other opportunities to do that because there are no written records for those languages. Many of those languages are extinct or threatened with extinction right now. So it's a unique opportunity to actually learn something about these peoples and their languages.
Social Science Matrix has provided a framework to bridge these disciplinary boundaries. It has proved attractive to our archaeological colleagues to understand that they're not just working with linguists, but they're participating in the context of an institution which is intended to foster these interdisciplinary dialogues.